Landlords Podcast.
It is here at I Love Podcast, LordofGaming.net. And who is this fine gentleman that we have in the realm of PAX West today?
My name is Brian Clark. I am the solo developer for the Mortuary.
Nice. Mortuary assistant. This game looks interesting. Tell us about the premise while we get started with Mortuary.
Sure, we'll go ahead and start it up and let the intro run. The basic idea is that you're a newly hired mortician that ends up becoming deaf. So the entire time you're spending the night dealing with going through the process of possession. You're trying to identify the name of the demon that is doing this to you and the body that is taking up tenancy. And so you're having to perform the embalming the entire time because that's part of the process.
So we really embalming in here?
Yeah.
We're really taking this mortuary assistant thing seriously.
Yes, that was one of the things that I really wanted to expand on after the original prototype, was people really wanted to embalm.
You gotta cut you for a second. Graphically looks phenomenal. What engine are we using? Lovely these cinematics.
This is all in Unity.
Unity's looking strong right now. I'm really feeling this. Continue. So this is Connecticut.
Yes, this takes place in Connecticut. It's actually where I live because it's very useful.
Oh, it's Connecticut. What's up? I got friends there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
No doubt. Connecticut.
I live in Milford.
Okay, Milford, New Haven, all absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt. Gotta get in the building, so it's open right now. So these are two protagonists.
So yeah, this is Rebecca and her grandmother. They're discussing the fact that she is finishing her school and about to pick up, she's doing her final review at Riverfield Mortuary to become an assistant there.
Nice. And she is our main.
This is the protagonist, Rebecca.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And what's happening in this sequence is they're talking about the fact that she is graduating and she's doing her final review, and her grandmother is giving her this piece of jewelry here, which we don't get background information on at the time, but gets revealed through various story events later on.
Grandma knows something.
Yep.
Tell by the eyes. This one's cool. I just love the fact the premise is you are literally a mortician. Like, I think that is awesome. It's unique. I don't see that in gaming, kind of thing. So what kind of inspired that? What kind of inspired you to go to the direction?
Well, so I did a game jam for myself. It's a self-induced one where I gave myself a week to make a game. And so I knew I needed to do a small environment with a really tight gameplay loop, and I wasn't sure what to do. I realized that dead bodies are creepy.
Yes.
How do I get you alone in a room with a dead body? So that's where I was thinking about either autopsy or embalming. And autopsy I felt was a little too sterile, a little too technical.
Yes, very technical.
And embalming is more like an art, where you're getting, I feel it's more intimate. And so I thought that was a really good setting for it. But doing that prototype, it was really simple, about 5 minutes of gameplay. You collect stuff and then you make a spooky thing happen. That was it. But it gained a lot of traction, and so I knew that's what I needed to do.
That was the genesis of it.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
cool. I love it.
All right, so we've just come into the tutorial system here, and we're at afternoon, and Zoe has left you a note saying that you need to sign this last bit of paperwork for your onboarding. So we have, let's see if I have these prompts that come up to help guide the player. So there's the quick inventory system. It's how I access everything in the inventory. There's regular inventory, which is much more involved. That's how you drop items and everything like that. But to access things quickly, that's how you use it. Right. Now we're going to do our review, and Raymond is over here telling us that we need to return this body and bring out the next one.
Yes. We are now about to learn the last.
Yes. So I've done this tutorial in a two-part system, basically. The embalming is during this part, and then where I'm actually teaching you the demonic tendency stuff, banishment and everything, comes in the second half after this tutorial. Because I realized I was teaching people how to embalm, and I probably needed to get that out of the way first.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's a lot of extra stuff to do, so I wanted to make sure they knew what they were doing going into the full game.
Now we're getting into the technicalities right now.
Yep.
We're getting them all lined up.
Back in, do it right.
Not picky at all.
Not yet.
This is just a normal day in the life. That's what we do. What we do as an assistant.
So I've got a little body wiggle.
Yeah, so do we.
Wiggle it down.
Again, you know, normal day, nothing potentially demonic.
Not yet, not yet.
Not yet.
So now we're going to do identifying body markings. So we press spacebar, we bring up, we see what we need to do, the different things that we need to look at. So these are helpers for the player's first time to see where they're going to inspect. What you do is manipulate body parts. I can see there's one right here.
Yeah, right there.
So interact with that, and if I rotate, I can look on this side. And so I'll do that all over the body here and try to find all the various marks I need. You can see there's a number up in the corner here too. Helps me keep track of how many I've got.
And that's our identifying.
Yeah,
marks, okay.
so that's the more gamey side of it,
Yes.
to make sure you don't like find all of them and then are left wondering if you've done it.
Gotcha. But we were really getting our examination on.
Oh, just wait till we start. You
got
get pretty
a
close and personal.
Oh, wow. Okay. Totally not making me uncomfortable, but it's cool.
Perfect. That's my whole aim for the game, is to make people permanently
Yes,
uncomfortable.
yes. And you're doing a fantastic job. I think I have issues with it. This is great.
All right, so now that we've recorded our marks, we go into the record-keeping system.
I'm using Windows 98 over there.
Oh, it takes place in 1998. So it all makes
Oh, I
sense.
nailed it. I know that OS when I see it. Let's go. Windows 98 out here.
So now I didn't want to do a bunch of typing. I didn't want people to have to do basically, I want to be able to use a controller too.
Okay.
So now what I'm doing is a matching system.
Thank you for gamifying this.
Yeah, this was one that I really wanted to make sure I didn't do anything overly complicated. What am I missing? Right arm.
I love this setting. It's just so good.
So now we're printing up the report. And once we get that,
I wait for that print. Shout out to that printer. Hewlett Packard.
it's got a nice old
Yeah, old
90s
school
sound too.
Yeah. Inkjet cartridges and all that. No, these footprints.
This is all just for guiding the player. Yeah, like I was saying, I really wanted the player to understand how to do this part when they went into the full game, so it wasn't a question once I started teaching them the management team inside of it. So now we return the report and we're ready to embalm. Yep. Getting here, Raymond's laid out everything for us. In the full game, these are all in their different storage spaces, but for the sake of the tutorial, they're out here.
Got it.
So first thing we have to do, our clipboard has changed. So now we see we got to wire the jaw shut with the needle injector. So we get the needle injector and the setting needles associated with it. So now we're going to come into here. It's going to tell us how to do the setting of the face. So we close that. So what we do, is we now pull this up to get it ready, and then we click to hammer it down.
Okay.
So we're going to do that a few times until the barb is in there. You can see we've got a barb and a wire there now. So we'll do it again.
Totally comfortable.
And now we twist it shut. And this is the actual process. I put a lot of effort into researching all this. So
Fantastic job.
thank you.
And I wonder, there's a part of an educational part for the people.
You know, there have been people that message me say that they've learned some things.
I was just about to say, you might be a hit up for the funeral directors of the mortuary industry.
Well, I've actually been contacted by a lot of morticians, oddly enough, but mainly just excitement that there's something happening with their field.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's as uncomfortable as it may be a guy like me. This is the reality. This is what people do on a day-to-day thing. So that aspect of the game, I know we're going to get into the other aspect, is really cool that you're doing, and that's why I like it. It's unique in space.
Yeah, I really wanted something that had familiarity to the actual process. So when is that actually how it's done, they could search it, and yes, that's actually how it's done.
You would have got the formaldehyde?
Yeah, there's stuff that I've made shorter or removed simply for time or game design's sake, but everything that's here is part of the process. So now what we're going to do is we have to cut into the carotid artery, which actually is located down here, but for the sake of gameplay, it's up here. So now we've cut open and we'll enter the artery forceps. Now we have to get the tube that we're going to use to pump the fluids out.
I need your attention to detail. You're too good right now. So my queasiness. Continue.
Awesome. So now we've got our tubing. So we're all hooked up and we've got our chemicals that we put in. We got our water line going to it. So now we're going to go ahead and drain the fluids out.
This must be
So during this process, this is basically everything's getting pushed through all the vein system in the body and then coming out the other end and getting emptied out. So actually, this will eventually turn clear and we'll know that we're done. There's a sound cue as well, but visually I wanted to add something as well so you can see it starting to turn.
Can somewhat clear that up with the visualization.
There we go. Now I think we're there. Yep. So now I can turn it off. That's good for draining, and now we can see we got to turn off the pump and remove the tubes. Take this, take them out, and we'll go ahead and pull this up. Now we get it stitched up. Next on our list is to do cavity fluid. So we've got to get. So now we've got a reservoir bag, and we're gonna need the trocar, so we'll grab that too. And we're gonna go fill up our reservoir bag. This is called gravity filling because you're using gravity to run the liquid down into it. So we're going to find a spot and fill a little bit, and then we're going to have to find another location and fill again. And we'll do this until we've run out of our cavity fluid. Now, for the real thing, you're doing a lot more poking around in different spots, but for the sake of gameplay, this makes the most sense.
Thank God for the sake of gameplay.
Maybe someday I'll go and add some additional methods.
You can do that in DLC.
Yeah, right. All right, so now we got to mix some cleaners. This is more gameplay related. I wanted to get the player moving around the mortuary more. So they combined a descaler and a cleaning agent, a cleaner base, and now I've got the actual tank cleaner here.
Chin wash. Really looks solid. Really solid.
Oh, this is Unity.
Oh, this is Unity?
Yes. Yeah. So this is all real-time lighting in Unity, which real-time lighting can be a bit of a challenge for performance.
All right, and we are live. More Cognito here, Iron Lord Podcast, GoToGaming.net. And who is this fine gentleman we have in the realm of PAX Quest today?
I'm Bartek, I'm creative director at Plot Twist, the creators of The Last Case of Benedict Bard.
Plot Twist, the Benedict. This is one I had my eye on. We saw it at the Xbox Showcase, I believe, and let's just get right into it.
So we are playing Benedict Bard, a safe proclaimed detective who's connected at birth with a human companion from another dimension. And it gives him this power to enter human consciousness. And he uses this to solve some cases.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's also a curse that slowly kills him.
Whoa!
So, yeah, so they have only one night left to solve the mystery of his father's death and to find a way to detach from the demon.
Okay, it's a real deep here.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of depth to this Benedict. So one life left to figure this whole thing out?
Exactly.
What do we got going on?
Yeah. So now we will switch from the real world to what we call the limbo. So we now are in Benedict's father consciousness. Benedict's father is dead, but we can still explore his ego, his what we call limbo, which is a distorted version of house. It's like his memories towards the house.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the speed up and the platforming already.
We find and gather clues, and then we constantly hear the dialogue between Benedict and companions, because in the real world, Benedict is like a detective. He uses his senses to see, to observe, and so on. But the demon feels emotions, so he's like a detective here. He can tell Benedict what he senses, that the father feared something or that he wanted to hide something. So we want to go really deep into human psyche.
Gotcha. So we're going into human psyche and that limbo representation of that. Okay. That's really cool. We don't want that. We don't want
We don't want that.
We good. Let's go.
So, of course, everyone has its own demon. You got the kill. We will enter our father's demon.
Now wait, hold on. You got the knife and these cool abilities.
We've got our trusty flare gun. It's a very powerful weapon, but it's only a single shot. And I need to attack enemies with my melee attack to recharge it. Okay. So in order to get this reward, I need to risk.
Right. So there's a synergy between the melee attacks and the fire shot.
I can additionally block and dodge.
So the block's like a spiritual overshield. Okay, like a psychic overshield.
Yeah, we are, when in limbo, we are helped by our companion. He gives us his ability.
Gotcha, let's go.
So now let's open some creepy door.
Yeah. Whoa, creepy door is very creepy.
Okay.
Okay.
Didn't make it, but let's try again.
So we got a little puzzle. Oh, so we got the, okay. Button and representation to the buttons. Cool, correlation there. Getting that going. We got tarot cards. We're picking up items in the world. Now these items, will some of them be used for puzzle elements or they're more for narrative purpose?
Both.
Okay.
Actually both. We gather. Let me get rid of it.
Yeah, let's get rid of it.
That is that. Yes. So I can move in one direction and instantly dodge into another one.
Love it. That's cool. I'm feeling that.
Yes. So we gather those clues, and those clues both help you understand the story better, and we also reward exploration because we have two currencies. One rewarded for combat and one for exploration. The one for exploration we use to buy and upgrade the items, and the other one, the ink that we collect from demons, we use to tattoo Benedict and gather new skills.
Okay.
So let's defeat another enemy and we will switch back to the house.
Walker a lot.
Let's get back to the reality. Let's visit our tattooist who will help us exchange the ink for a new skill.
Gotcha. I noticed two things. One, okay. It said new NPC available. More NPCs to utilize?
Yes. So we show for now we show the Harry Houdini, who is our shopkeeper, and the mysterious tattooist. And who knows, maybe we'll find more.
Maybe find out. Okay. You hold it out. I love this. First of all, graphically, I am really feeling the art style, the design choices here. You know, what was some of the inspiration for landscape?
Visually, we wanted to create a contrast between a cartoony art style with lots of colors, with some very mature and intimate storytelling to create a friction there. And this kind of naturally makes us closer to, for example, Tim Burton's work.
Yes, that's the vibe. It's funny you said Burton. That was the vibe I got.
Yeah, and story-wise, we are heavily inspired by Lovecraft himself and everything Lovecraftian. And gameplay-wise, we also are inspired by some other games, but I leave the players to check for themselves. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. And as far as going back and forth between the world, I'm gonna assume it's not an instantaneous thing. There's certain points that you can initiate that at.
Yes, at least at first. We unlock those, we call them anchors, and from there we can switch between the house and the reality.
The light source, that was very cool.
And, but once at house or once you got unlocked your checkpoint, you can select any of them and switch.
Oh, you very cool. That's very cool. And it helps with backtracking.
So there are few mechanics that will help with backtracking. First of all, once you've gathered the ink from enemy and you will safely reach a checkpoint or the house, this enemy will respawn, but he will respawn in a weaker form. So he will have less HP. He will still do the same amount of damage, so you need to be cautious. But later on you will be able to power through the enemies that you've once defeated.
Let's go on, man. You're selling me. I'm in. Going to the marsh.
So we often find also some kind of remnants of memories.
There's a memory, yeah.
Those are like shameful memories that we sometimes as people overanalyze again and again.
And I know we're in a loud convention, but I'm assuming do these parts have voice acting?
Yeah, the game is fully voice acting.
Oh man, let's go.
And we are very proud of our actors, and we think it's one of our biggest.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
Now we've got the slam ability, and we can push the enemy away.
That's not a ball. I love it. What surprised me about this is I love the combat. I didn't think the combat would be something that I would be gravitated towards a game like this. I thought it would be more of a narrative focus. So there is combat here.
Oh yeah, there is, and it's quite in depth actually. Of course, we still are working on the product, but we want to have like a very good balance between storytelling, puzzle, and the combat.
Let's see if we can use that slam attack thing that you got, the new ability. Yeah, I can see that.
That's the one, yeah. And for example, I can use even the pin that I used to unlock the door. It also has like a combat ability. I can slow the enemy.
Block. Oh, that's hard.
One more.
Wait, we got finishes?
We got finishes.
You're doing a lot right now, Benedict. You're doing a lot. Let's go.
Try to use the slam.
Okay, so we can use that. Now, can that be used as an offensive or more of a slam through to get to different areas?
Yeah. At first, it's more of a utility tool.
Gotcha.
But later on, every ability has also like a second tattoo on the other hand that can enhance the ability. So later on, you will be able to deal damage with the slam.
We can get those from our friend at the tattoo artist. Creepy button pressing puzzle.
Find the last part of the mother's embrace. So now we've got additional health points.
Nice.
Did you get it? You got it? We've got some hidden mechanics for the speedrunners out there.
Oh, we got stuff for the speedrunning community. I like that little trail behind it.
Ah, yeah, the companion text tentacles. Yeah. Gather some food. Who knows what this means? Maybe in future we'll know.
Maybe in the future might unlock potentially an area or something, or an ability, or an item.
Or both.
Or both. Now, let's go. Oh, we have bosses.
We do, but we want to leave it for the player.
Evil! Listen, the last case of Benedict, definitely highly anticipated. One of the games that we saw at the showcase that kind of blew us away. Again, the perfect style, Lovecraftian, you got a horror, you got your combat. For our audience, what would you like to tell people who may be on the fence about Benedict and things that maybe we didn't get a chance to talk about that are in the game?
So we try to make the game to be as accessible as possible. So for every major part of the game, the exploration, the combat, and the puzzle, we will create a separate slider, and player will be able to customize the experience for their liking. So
Gotcha.
if you don't want the combat, but you want the hardest puzzles you can get, you can do it. If you're interested in exploration, we can make it harder for you. Yeah.
So you're giving that customization from puzzle, action, depending on the style of the player and the accessibility of the player. You're giving it, and if a person is the opposite, maybe they want to challenge themselves, you can do that too. Oh, pretty cool design choice, an absolute pleasure. The last case of Benedict Fox. Xbox Game Pass?
Xbox Game Pass Day 1.
Day 1. What else?
Welcome to the Iron Lords Podcast.